time to leave your warlords behind.
שלום לכם, אחר צהריים טובים. אם במחאה של הקיץ הקודם הייתה עוד תמימות ראשונית, הרי שלא ברור כיצד ייראה הקיץ הנוכחי כשהלקחים כבר הופקו. וזה נכון לא רק לגבי ישראל, אלא גם לגבי מדינות אחרות בעולם שאנחנו רואים בהן בשנתיים האחרונות מחאה מסוגים שונים, חלקם דומים לזו שהייתה ומתחוללת עדיין כאן. לפני כשבוע פרופסור לסוציולוגיה אמר לי ולקבוצת עיתונאים ופעילים שכל מחאה אפקטיבית חייבת לענות, ולענות היטב, על שתי שאלות. האחת, מה אנחנו רוצים? השנייה, מה נעשה אם דרישותינו לא יענו? זו השאלה המרכזית שנדמה לי שכדאי מאוד שנענה עליה גם היום. בשעות הקרובות אנחנו נשוחח עם 3 פעילי מחאה מ3 מדינות באירופה ובאמריקה. לצערנו הפעילה הרביעית לא יכלה להיות איתנו היום, תקלה טכנית של פספורטים אבודים. ה3 יספרו לנו גם על הפעילות שלהם וגם על אופי המחאה. אפשר לומר, כמו שמאט טרנר תיקן אותי קודם, מהפכה, מה שקורה אצלם. אתם תוכלו להציג בפניהם שאלות, גם כאן וגם מחר ביום הסדנאות שיערך בסמינר הקיבוצים. לפני שנעביר להם את רשות הדיבור, ברכות. אני רוצה להזמין את דוקטור אנגלי קטים, מנהלת נציגות קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג בישראל. בבקשה.
שלום, אחרי צהריים טובים. welcome. אני שמחה שאני יכולה לברך אתכם בשם קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג ונציגותה בישראל. ובמיוחד אני רוצה לברך את האורחים לנוי סטייצקפרקמות מ3 מדינות שהגיעו אתמול, וכמו שאני למדתי בפעם הראשונה בישראל, כדי להשתתף בכנס פה. אני חושבת ששמתם לב כבר כאשר אמרתי את המשפט הראשון שלי, שעברית לא שפת האם שלי. אני מברלין, אני מנהלת משרדה של קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג 3 שנים כאן בישראל, ואני רוצה לבקש ברשותכם להגיד כמה מילים גם כן על הקרן ועל הפעילות שלנו במשרד של קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג בתל אביב. אז קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג הוקמה ב-1990, היא פועלת בתוך גרמניה ומחוץ לארץ, במיוחד בתחום החינוך הפוליטי הציבורי, ומשמשת במה לדיאלוג על ההתפתחויות החברתיות והפוליטיות של ימינו ועל אלטרנטיבות חברתיות. המשרד שלנו בישראל נפתח ב-2009, ואיפה במיוחד פה בעולם הזה בבית סוקולוב היה כנס הפתיחה שלנו במרץ 2009. ואז אנחנו ארגנו כנס בכותרת בעקבות רוזה לוקסמבורג, מורשתה של רוזה לוקסמבורג לשמאל הישראלי והגרמני. ואני באמת שמחה שהיום אנחנו יכולים, גם נמצאים פה כדי להשתתף בכנס אחר, אבל שבצורה מסוימת גם קשור. אני חושבת, לו רוזה לוקסמבורג הייתה פה היום, היא הייתה שמחה. לראות פה כל כך הרבה צעירים, אנשים שמעוניינים בנושא אחד שתמיד היה חשוב לה, הצטרפות פוליטית, דמוקרטיה וכן הלאה. אז אני חושבת שאנחנו נמצאים פה במקום הנכון. אנחנו פועלים ברוח ערכי רוזה לוקסמבורג וערכי קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג במספר תחומים למען מעורבות דמוקרטית, צדק חברתי, זכויות אדם, נגד גזענות, שנאת זרים ואנטישמיות. הקרן תומכת בתפיסות ובפרויקטים השואפים לחזק את הדמוקרטיה, להתמודד עם האתגרים החברתיים פוליטיים, כלכליים גם כן, לקדם שיח אירופי-ישראלי ושיח גרמני-ישראלי. בנוסף, אנחנו מפיצים מידע בישראל אודות ההיסטוריה והפוליטיקה, התרבות של גרמניה, ומידע בגרמניה על המציאות הישראלית המורכבת. הכנס שהכותרת שלו פעילי כל העולם התאחדו הוכן בשיתוף פעולה הדוק בין קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג לבין המכללה החברתית כלכלית, ואני רוצה לנצל את ההזדמנות להודות לצוות של המכללה של החברתית כלכלית על שיתוף הפעולה היעיל והטוב. המכללה כבר כמה שנים פרטנר טוב של הקרן שלנו, ואני במיוחד רוצה עכשיו להודות לכל הצוות של המכללה על שיתוף הפעולה, במיוחד כאשר החלטנו, או מהרגע הראשון שהחלטנו לשים ולארגן את האירוע הזה ביחד. אני גם רוצה לנצל את ההזדמנות להודות לצוות שלנו, של קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג, כל הצוות, מיקה הרטמן, טריק חבשי, תמר אלמוג, ויקי קץ, המתנדבים שלנו, כולם היו חלק מהאירוע הזה מהרגע הראשון, השתתפו, הכינו, ואני חושבת כנס כזה גם אומר משהו על שיתוף פעולה של צוות במשרד אחד. אני גם רוצה להודות לרונית וספיר, שהן לא עובדות בתוך צוות זה או אחר, אבל שבאמת בעזרת הפעילויות שלהן באמת עזרו לנו בהרבה, ואני חושבת שבלי שיתוף הפעולה של כולנו, הכנס הזה לא היה אפשרי. עכשיו, לפני שבוע וגם אתמול, אני דיברתי עם סטפן הסל. סטפן הסל הוא בן 95, הוא גר בפריז, בצרפת, והוא האיש המפורסם שניסח את המניפסט תסעמו. אני לא יודעת אם כולם מכירים, אבל רובם בטח פה בעולם מכירים את המניפסט החשוב הזה. אולי אפשר אפילו לקרוא לו אף תנועת המחאה החברתית שאני קראתי פעם, אבל בכל מקרה מה שלמדתי שיחת טלפון איתו, שהוא היה באמת מאוד היה רוצה לבוא לכאן להשתתף בכנס, אבל כמו שאמרתי הוא בן 95 ישראל מאוד חשובה לו, והוא אמר לי, אז באמת, אני מאחל לכם הצלחה, ומאוד חשוב מה שאתם עושים, אני לא יכול להשתתף, אבל אני אשלח לכם מסר וידאו. אז עוד מעט אנחנו נשמח לראות את המסר של סטפן הסל למשתתפי הכנס. מי הוא סטפן הסל? אולי כמה מילים על הרקע הביוגרפי שלו. למה מישהו שעכשיו בן 95, למה למישהו שעכשיו בן 95 חשוב כנס כזה? חשוב למסור מסר מסוים. סטפן הסל נולד ב-1917 בברלין. אב פרנץ בא ממשפחה יהודית. הוא היה סופר ומתרגם. ביחד עם אשתו הלן הוא עזב את גרמניה ב-1924 והם עברו לפריז. סטפן גדל בפריז ביחד עם אחיו הגדול. הוא למד שם באוניברסיטה ב-1935 הוא קיבל את האזרחות הצרפתית. בזמן מלחמת העולם השנייה הוא לחם ברסיסטנס צרפתי נגד היטלר. ב-1944 הוא נעצר על ידי הגסטאפו הגרמני והוא עבר למחנה ריכוז בוכנוולד. ההנהלה של מחנה הריכוז בוכנוולד החליטה או תכננה להוציא אותו להורג, אבל הוא הצליח לשנות את זהותו בזהות של מישהו אחר, צרפתי אחר שמת כבר, והוא הצליח לברוח ממחנה הריכוז ולהגיע לצרפת. אחרי מלחמת העולם השנייה ב-1946 סטפן הסל התחיל לעבוד כדיפלומט צרפתי, וזה באומות המאוחדות. הוא היה חבר של ועדה שהכין וכתב את ההכרזה לכל באי עולם בדבר זכויות אדם, The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. ההכרזה אומצה על ידי העצרת הכללית של האומות המאוחדות בדצמבר 1948. אני חושבת שמאוד חשוב לדעת קצת על הרקע הביוגרפי שלו, על הרסיסטנס ועל הקטע הזה של הכרזת זכויות אדם, כדי להבין אותו וכדי להבין למה זה חשוב לו, גם למסור לנו מסר של סולידריות ושלום. סטפן הסל תמיד תמך בזכויות אדם, וכדוגמה אני רוצה לספר לכם שהוא היה בין האנשים הבולטים בצרפת שתמכו בעצמאות אלג'יריה בזמן כאשר היה שם שלטון צרפתי. סטפן הסל כתב את המניפסט, תסתמו ב-2010. מה שחשוב לדעת אולי שזה מניפסט מאוד קטן, יש לי אותו פה בגרמנית, דרך אגב זה תורגם לעברית, אבל אתם יכולים למצוא אותו רק באינטרנט, לא פורסם פה בארץ, אז אולי יש לנו מה לעשות. המניפסט עצמו פורסם אבל ביותר מ5 מיליון עותקים. זה מספר גדול, ואני חושבת אולי אפשר להוסיף עוד 1,000 או 2,000 עותקים בעברית שיפורסמו פה בארץ. רק הצעה. מה שאני חושבת, או מה שאני חשבתי כאשר קראתי את המניפסט שלו, זה היה שהוא התנגד בחריפות לאדישות. הוא אמר, האדישות היא הגישה הגרועה ביותר. הוא גם תמך בהתנגדות לא אלימה, ואמר, התנגדות לא אלימה היא הדרך שאנחנו חייבים ללמוד ללכת בה. המשפט האחרון של המניפסט שלו זה לעשות זה להתנגד, להתנגד זה לעשות. ואני חושבת זה גם יכולה להיות הסיסמה של ההתפתחויות פה בארץ ושל ההתפתחויות שאנחנו ראינו בקיץ האחרון. ובזה אני באמת רוצה להגיע או להגיד כמה מילים על מטרת הכנס או על מה שחשבנו כאשר התחלנו להתכונן. אני חושבת שכולנו זוכרים את הקיץ האחרון כאן בישראל, הייתה תקווה גדולה, תקווה לשנות משהו. אני זוכרת טוב מאוד כאשר יצאתי לחופש בהתחלת יולי, אני לא חשבתי שמשהו ישתנה פה, אבל כאשר חזרתי אחרי חודש ימים לישראל, אני קיבלתי את הרושם שהגעתי למדינה אחרת. אוקיי, אני לא אזרחית ישראל, אני גרה כמה שנים פה כבר, אבל בכל זאת אני הבנתי שמשהו השתנה, שהאווירה השתנתה, שהייתה התלהבות כזאת שאני אף פעם לא ראיתי לפני כן, מעורבות ויצירתיות, במיוחד בשדרת רוטשילד שנמצאות מעבר למשרד שלנו. אני חושבת הכנס הזה יתמקד בין היתר, או ינסה בין היתר לשאול על שאלות שנשאלו בקיץ האחרון, שישאלו בעתיד ושאנשים שואלים היום מה השגנו, מה הצלחנו, איך הלאה. אנחנו כולנו יודעים שהיסטוריה לא נכתבת רק על ידי פוליטיקאים, אלא שגם על ידי אחת ואחת. זאת אומרת שאנשים כמונו גם חותמים את חותמם על התפתחויות פוליטיות. ומחוץ להתפתחות הלאומית, ההתפתחות במדינה אחת, גם ההתפתחויות באזור, גם ההתפתחויות בזירה הבינלאומית משפיעות על התפתחות במדינה קונקרטית. בגלל זה אני חושבת, זה מאוד חשוב שיש לנו היום פה אורחים מחוץ לארץ, מספרד, מרוסיה, מארצות הברית, שגם ידברו על הניסיון שלהם, שאפשר לדבר איתם על ההתפתחויות בארצם. ואני חושבת הדיאלוג בין פעילי ישראל לבין פעילים מחוץ לארץ זה דבר מאוד חשוב. אני רוצה, אני מאחלת לכנס שלנו באמת הצלחה, ואני בטוחה שיהיו דיונים היום וגם מחר חשובים ומעניינים. תודה רבה.
תודה רבה לדוקטור טים, וכעת אני מתכבדת להזמין לבמה את מיכל שוחט, מנכ"ל המכללה החברתית כלכלית. בבקשה.
אחר צהריים טובים לכולם ולכולן. אנחנו באים ממקומות שונים, ולא על הכל אנחנו מסכימות ומסכימים. אבל זאת ההזדמנות שלנו לקיים רב שיח, להיפגש ולהשתמש בעושר החברתי ובשונות שבינינו, ליצור כוח משותף. כולנו חווים תסכול על אי צדק וחוסר שוויון. אנחנו שייכים לקבוצות שונות בחברה, נבדלות על ידי מוצא, דת, מגדר, מעמד, לאום ועוד. במציאות הישראלית, שונות זו מהווה מקור להרחבתם של פערים כלכליים ודיכוי תרבותי ולאומי. זה רע לנו, לכולנו, זה רע לנו עכשיו וזה רע לעתיד של ילדינו. מציאות זו מתוחזקת על ידי המבנים הכלכליים ומשומרת על ידי אטימות בקרב חלקים מהציבור. אנחנו נוהגים לשמוע כלכלנים ואנשי כספים טוענים שאנחנו חיים בעולם גלובלי, ולפיכך ההתנהלות הכלכלית צריכה להתנהל כשוק פתוח וגלובלי. מה שכנראה שכחו אותם כלכלנים, שבעולם הזה ישנם גם בני ובנות אדם, והכלכלה אמורה לשרת אותם ולא להפך. כולנו רוצים לחיות בחברה של שלום, חברה שוויונית וצודקת, ולכל ילדה וילד פתוחה אפשרות ללמוד, להתחנך ולממש את עצמם. לכל אדם יש בית, אוכל, ביגוד, טיפול בריאותי, בכל אדם בוגר עובד ומתפרנס בכבוד למחייתו, בלכל קבוצה יש הזדמנות לביטוי תרבותי, ובה קשרים קהילתיים תומכים בפרט. אנחנו פה כדי להזכיר כי אנחנו חיים בעולם גלובלי, גם בדרישה לצדק חברתי. לאזרחי העולם כולו יש את הזכות לחיות בכבוד, ועלינו כאזרחי העולם בכלל וכאזרחי ישראל בפרט מוטלת החובה לדרוש את הזכויות הבסיסיות המגיעות לנו. בואו ננצל את הימים הקרובים ללמוד מהאורחים שהגיעו, לחלוק איתנו את ניסיונם ולשתף אותם בניסיון שלנו. אני רוצה לברך את האורחים שעשו את המאמץ להתפנות מהעיסוקים שלהם ולהגיע לכאן. אני רוצה להודות למי שהגה וטרח על הכנס, קרן רוזה לוקסמבורג, על צוותה, אנגליקה, מיקה, תמר, טריק, ויקי ומקסים, לרונית ולספיר, ולשותפות שלי במכללה החברתית כלכלית, לילך, רחל ונועה, ולכל המתנדבים והמתנדבות שסייעו לנו. אני מאחלת לכולם כנס מוצלח ומעשיר.
תודה רבה למיכל שוחט. דוקטור טים הציגה כבר את סטפן הסל, האיש שניסח את המניפסט תזעמו, כבר בן 95, נולד בברלין, פעל בצרפת ובאנגליה, ראה מלחמות עולם, מאבקים חברתיים, הוא עוקב גם אחרי מה שמתרחש כאן. המניפסט תזעמו הופץ בכל העולם ובשפות רבות, כאמור 5 מיליון עותקים. הגדולה שלו הוא ביכולת לנסח את ה-DNA של דרישת הצדק החברתי.
This is a message from the author of this little book. In French we call it Indignez-vous. It has been translated Time for Outrage. It is clear that now all over the world, in many, many countries, the young generation feels that it has to change the situation because of social problems, economic problems. This has been the case in Israel, and I have listened with great attention to the people who in the streets of Tel Aviv manifested to have a better social life. The question for me is, can better social conditions in a country like Israel, which needs its security, but which also needs its better economic situation for the younger generation, can it be achieved without a profound political change? We have to look at the general situation of colonization of the occupied territories, occupation, colonization. These are elements which contribute to a less favorable condition for the young generation. So those who protest should understand that their protest is fully justified, but that the answer has to be searched in a new general political outlook. If you're convening tomorrow, day after tomorrow, can lead to some progress in that field, then I think you will go in the right direction, which is what the Israelis themselves need in order to have their security and to have a better get together with the Palestinians whose desires are similar to those of Israel. They also want peace. They also want security for their people. Let us try to bring people to come to work together and not against each other. So my message is hope, trust, confidence, and change in the general political outlook of your leaders.
אנחנו נעבור עכשיו לפאנל הראשון שלנו. כאמור, לצערנו הרב, מרגריטה צומו לא תוכל להצטרף אלינו, אז עשינו מעט שינויים. אני רוצה להזמין את שני החברים הראשונים שמגיעים אלינו מארצות הברית ומרוסיה. מי היה מאמין בשנות ה-80 שרוסיה ואמריקה ישבו באותו שולחן וידרשו את אותה הדרישה בדיוק? אז אני מזמינה לבמה את מאט ראנר מארצות הברית, את גולנרה אייטובה מרוסיה, בבקשה. נספר לכם כמה מילים עליהם. אייטובה בת 27, פעילה בתנועת אלטרנטיבי שמתנגדת לגלובליזציה קפיטליסטית. ראנר בן 29, ממובילי האתר Truth Out ותנועת Occupy. אז אני רוצה בבקשה לתת את זכות הדיבור למאט ראנר מארצות הברית. בבקשה.
Hi everybody, shalom. Unfortunately, that's the extent of my Hebrew. I apologize. I wish I could address you in such a beautiful language. Actually, first I want to thank my wonderful hosts, the amazing people of the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation, and all of the people of Israel for inviting me here and having me here. It's a deep honor, and I'm blown away already in just the first day. Is that now too loud? Because I can hear myself. No? Okay. First, I want to start by saying that I'm here just as myself, speaking for one person. With that said, I want to recognize our shared humanity, our creativity, our strength, and our shared struggle. I'm here as a human being to recognize and honor the awesomeness inside everyone here. I also want to acknowledge the lives that have been lost in the struggle for freedom and those who are in danger or who are suffering right at this very moment. May our intention and our thoughts give strength to all beings, and may our resolve honor those who have come before us. Before I begin, I also want to acknowledge my privilege as a white heterosexual man born and raised in the American Empire. I acknowledge my privilege in an effort to be aware of my own biases and to remind myself of my limited perspective. I'm here with the intention of learning as much as I possibly can from you all. I'm here to listen and am deeply honored to have this opportunity to share this space the next 2 days with you all. My goal is to connect with you and cultivate our shared consciousness, to build solidarity, and to share my love, frankly. The issues we're talking about today, I think that the wrong words are used often. So I'd like to talk more about this during the panel, but I believe what we're looking at right now is a global revolution in consciousness that has already occurred. People in the know are dissatisfied with the false separations that divide us and the undemocratic power structures of the past. The decentralized global uprisings we've been seeing across the world are the physical manifestations of this revolution that has already taken place. The message of the revolutionaries is clear. We are all brothers and sisters, and we are here to fight for justice and freedom. We struggle not for ourselves, but for each other. And we are no longer going to allow festering, gangrenous zombies to control our destinies. Instead, we will and we must shake the system. We must bang on it as loudly and as forcefully as we can. With our bodies, our hearts, and our creativity, we must break apart the mechanisms of control and free our brothers and sisters and every gender non-conforming person from the fear that keeps us servile. Every clenched fist counts, but just as much, every open heart counts. Because our mission has 2 parts. Yes, we must confront and overwhelm the system physically and risk ourselves for each other, but we must also help give birth to the world that we all know is possible. As we rebel and cultivate dissent, we must also imagine a future that's brighter. While we work to rip down the walls that keep us penned in, we must also be building the next reality. Only with deep commitment to the motivating principles of our movement will we bring the next world into being. A little bit about my background and just what brought me to this. In preparation, I've been thinking about why I'm here, why I have been trying my best to change our society in the US and be a part of the global revolution. A switch in my brain flipped the day I watched Neda Sultan die in the streets of Tehran. It was June 20th, 2009. One short video on Facebook that I watched from my apartment in Washington, D.C. brought my whole life into focus. I'm still not sure exactly why the video changed my understanding. I think it was the look on her face as she realized what was happening, as she realized that a bullet had pierced her neck and that she was not going to survive. I think it was also her age. She looked like someone who I might have gone to high school with, or someone who I might have been friends with, or who I might have copied from while cheating on a test. After witnessing Nada's bravery in her final moments, and after seeing the bravery of all the young people who understood the risks they were taking, but stood in the street anyway, facing down the guns and the tanks and the bombs, I realized that my life is only worth something if I'm willing to risk it. No life but risk. I'm still afraid of failure, afraid of embarrassment, pain. I'm afraid of poverty, of homelessness and shame. I'm afraid of loss and death. But after the events of the past 3 years, starting with Nada, I've come to understand that this struggle is all of ours. It's a struggle that has taken many different forms throughout history, but it's a struggle that has the same root: resistance to greed, control, corruption, and power. But while this struggle has plagued humanity for almost our entire history, I believe that now we have entered a new era. Because of the power we possess at our fingertips, I believe we have the tools to do away with injustice permanently. The power to create our own media enables us to create our own culture. Our generation can and is already reinventing the world. So why, in the face of so much evidence to the contrary, am I optimistic about the odds of the global revolution? Well, frankly, I wasn't optimistic until recently. I was pretty convinced that we were all on a sinking ship headed towards planetary collapse and probably the extinction of our species. But then came the global revolution. The mind-blowing victories of the so-called Arab Spring give me my newly minted sense of optimism. By the way, I think the term Arab Spring caught on in the Western media because it reinforces a false separation between the people of the Middle East and the people of North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa, and Israel. I am blown away by the bravery and the sacrifice of the people who fought and continue to fight against their repressive regimes. I recognize their unique histories, but I do not see this as an Arab phenomenon. Instead, I recognize and honor the people who sparked and continue to lead the global revolution. Despite the shockingly beautiful victories in Tunisia and Egypt, I remain cynical, assuming that the indomitable power of the US military, the US dollar, and the brainwashing machine we call the US media would persevere by reinfecting, recorrupting, and redominating the politics of the Middle East to keep the oil flowing our way and the weapons and cash flowing over here. I figured the power of consumerism and the corporate media hell-bent on keeping the people of the United States passive, fat, and insecure would remain unchallenged. I figured that the American people would stay in our bubble until the Arctic ice melted and carried us all into the sea. That is, until something happened on September 17th, 2011, the day the Occupy movement began. The day the global revolution took hold in the belly of the beast, Lower Manhattan, just 2 blocks from Wall Street. See, to me, Occupy Wall Street movement was totally unexpected. Americans have been getting ground down by stagnant and declining wages since the 1970s. From the 1990s through 2008, the Clinton and Bush administrations brought on the complete collapse of our self-righteous claim to morality and justice by handing our economy over to Wall Street, continuing the destruction of organized labor, and worst of all, starting not 1, but 2 intractable wars of aggression. Then the economic collapse of 2008 and 2009 happened, wiping out 40% of the wealth of American families and pitching us even further into the depths of inequality on a scale not seen since feudalism. Literally, 40 families right now in the United States control more wealth than the bottom 30% combined. 40 families. in a country of over 300 million people. Then one day, 1,000 people took over a small park in Lower Manhattan. And through direct action, full democracy, and by putting their bodies on the line, fundamentally changed the narrative in the United States. The American manifestation of the global revolution, as it's known, the Occupy movement, made itself impossible to ignore, with highly visible occupations, an excellent expression of their theory. Remember, we are the 99%. That catchphrase, that small message, was one of the most important things to change in the US consciousness. And with direct actions which pointed out injustice and hypocrisy. I want to expand on that. What I mean is that the direct actions that were taken were an exercise in acting as if you are already free. So meeting in a park with 2,000 people at a time and talking about what's wrong with our society seems like something that should be allowed. And we saw the consequences, brutal police crackdowns. So by acting as if we were already free, we met despite the laws and the rules and the park closings and all that. But instead, we chose to defy that because it made sense. When laws are hypocritical or contradictory to what we believe the Constitution says, we defy them. It's not protest, it's direct action. So, as I said, the state and police overreaction to these protests through the abuse of their authority, unnecessary violence, and mass arrest gave the American people the images and the messages they needed to actually pay attention. The overreaction, including intense displays of beatings and horrible use of chemical weapons and pepper spray, and even explosive devices, which almost killed one young veteran in Oakland when it exploded next to his head. These images woke many of the Americans out of their slumber and created a new kind of politics in the United States. A whole new politics based on the understanding of our shared humanity and the shared struggle of the bottom 99% who had been left behind while the richest Americans became unimaginably wealthy. And for attempting to express this new politics, to move past the paradigms that have limited the discourse and killed the ability of average Americans to take collective action at any level, people were beaten, attacked with chemical weapons, fined, put into jail, prosecuted, and ridiculed. But eventually, these same people and hundreds of thousands who took up the call to occupy in their communities across the country and across the globe were held up as heroes, supported, clothed, fed, loved, and given credit by many for changing the trajectory of American politics, at least for the time being. Prior to Occupy, all we were talking about in America was how much we were going to cut social services. After Occupy, that question is off the table. And while that seems like a minor point to some, I couldn't have imagined that change in consciousness and that change in message even a year ago. It was just completely the opposite. We were looking at austerity, and because of the movement, we aren't at the moment. It could change. Finally, the awakening that we on the left in America all dreamed of. This was the movement that would restore the credibility of America, was this the movement that would restore credibility of America on the world stage? Would this lead to sweeping reforms and the rebalancing of our economy? Or would this go even further and become the revolution that would nail the coffin closed on the dusty carcass of so-called free market capitalism? I think the answer to these questions remains open. The crackdown by the corporate state continues, and the corporate media revamps its brainwashing machine, churning with meaningless infotainment and propaganda. But something fundamental has shifted, and I believe it is something that is impossible to undo. Americans were confronted with the truth that was previously hidden. Together, we are the 99%. The overwhelming majority of Americans have been left behind, just one illness away from poverty, while the elite steal all of the resources and wealth. This is a truth that cannot be rehidden. And this is a truth that my organization that I work for, truthout.org, and the rest of the independent media in the US works to keep alive. While the corporate media agenda is to make money, the agenda of the independent media is social and political change. The structure and financing for independent media is somewhat fragile, but for people in the US, preserving and strengthening new media structures is vital. Real journalism holds power accountable. It takes the facts on the ground and the circumstances witnessed in communities of struggle and demands answers from those in power. This kind of journalism is almost completely absent from the corporate media in the United States. Instead, so-called journalists kiss up to power in an attempt to gain access. Corporate journalists give deference to authority of all kinds, be it police, business executives, or politicians. They actively work to limit the political discourse, to keep it within the bounds of their limited imaginations and the two-party political system. The worst among them create propaganda, literally, stoke racial hatred, and appear to be laying the groundwork for fascism. Fox News, an orgy of guns, theocracy, and race baiting, chips away at the remaining democracy in the United States. While they're the most glaring example, they are aided and abetted by all the others who treat Fox as a legitimate institution. In the US, very few people even have access to Al Jazeera. In fact, Al Jazeera was such a threat to our government, one of the first things they did when invading Iraq was to bomb it. People with the desire to find out the truth and spread the truth turned to internet journalism or to the daily one-hour broadcast of Democracy Now! Because independent reporters and opinion writers were present from the beginning and gave voices to the people involved in the Occupy movement, they were able to gain insights and access that the corporate media couldn't. Also, and most importantly, because these independent journalists were often young and poor themselves, they immediately understood the movement. When the corporate media reacted with fear, the independent media jumped in with both feet, embedding themselves into the movement and uncovering the real stories that made Occupy so compelling. In conclusion, I ask that we, the overeducated and underemployed, remember and embrace the power of journalism. Facts still matter, and our global revolution is fueled by them. We have to be brave and tell the stories as they are happening. We have to show the faces of the people who we stand with. These faces and these words are the only things that can keep this shift in global consciousness alive. Your words and your images give strength to those of us who are not with you in person. Solidarity is the only thing that can keep away the fear and can keep us walking on our converging paths towards freedom. Thank you.
As I told you, in Israel, only the radical activists called it revolution. Most activists and the media called it protest. And you think that there's a great difference, and the right term is revolution. Can you please tell us the difference?
Well, I don't want to pretend to know, or that I know the specifics of the situation here because it's my second day. With that said, I think that the word revolution is a much stronger word in that it has connotations that are scary to a lot of people and might be one of the reasons why people aren't fully comfortable with it. But from what I've seen and from my experience so far, something fundamental has shifted. This is not a single issue that we're talking about. This is not, one of the first things I said about Occupy is this is not an exercise in public relations. This is not an ad campaign. This is not trying to get one person elected. This is a fundamental shift in our consciousness, and it's a fundamental embrace of a different paradigm. The specifics of that paradigm are not yet clear, and just like a revolution, we don't know which direction this is going to end up. But unlike an exercise in public relations or an ad campaign, this is a lifestyle choice. This is a change in brain chemistry. This is a new understanding, and this is a new way of approaching activism. I'm tired of protest. Protest has gotten us where we are today. It's time for a shift that can't be undone and can't be scaled back by the corporatocracy.
Thank you. First question.
Okay, so my question is, because you spoke very beautifully about what's going on, in the United States when it comes to the social movement there, and I wanted to ask you, because we're talking about like almost 300 million people that live under different judicial systems, so how much do you feel like the general public was involved and was engaged with the messages? And what are you planning ahead in order to make them more engaged?
It's a great question. I believe that the situation in the U.S. is unique in a lot of ways. We're in the heart of the beast, as I said in my speech. We face the most powerful brainwashing apparatus ever created by man. Our media is hollowed out and almost useless and very counterproductive, actually. Sorry, can you hear that? In terms of what the plans are for the future, and in terms of how much support the movement has, one of the best things about not being a demonstration or a protest is that polling doesn't guide what you do. We're not looking for a message that is necessarily going to resonate immediately with 51% of the population. I think that the power of this movement is that it is felt in the hearts, and it's felt much more powerfully than anything before it of the people that I've been working with on it. This isn't elect me and I'll go and do a good job. We've seen that, and we've seen it in the failure of that. This is, let's change the way we relate to each other, and let's figure out how to recreate a situation that is fair and is based on the ideas of real democracy and fairness and in the economy. With that said, I think that there's broad support for the movement's aims in that so many people are dissatisfied with the current economic paradigm in the US. I mean, the American dream is dead. Students and somebody, in every family, there's somebody you know, or at least one degree, at the most 1 degree of separation or 2 degrees of separation that are being ground down and are threatened with poverty or are in poverty in any, except for maybe in the top 1%. Everyone else knows someone who is facing poverty. The most impressive thing I've seen is actually coming from Canada, where their sustained student protests are based on the concept, from what I understand, of everyone being squarely in the red. They wear little red squares on their shirts because the idea is squarely in the red, meaning everyone is in debt. So many of us have debt, and we take it on as a personal shame, and we worry about it. It keeps us up at night, but we don't talk about it, and we don't say, why are all of us spending so much money on interest, on loans that we may have taken out for education that left us without a job? That's crazy. And once we start talking about it, and once we start cultivating the solidarity of that shared experience, I think that we will continue to change the consciousness in the United States. In terms of what we plan for the future, I think, personally, I am taking a little breather from the movement, and I will still be involved in my local community, but I think that one of the most powerful stuff that's going on that I can't claim that I've been a part of is the foreclosure actions to try to keep people in their homes. There's 16 million homeowners that are currently facing eviction or facing foreclosure and eviction. 16 million. And that's a huge voting block. That is real power if you can figure out how to organize them. So showing up, telling them we care about them, and saying, we know that you lost your job because of no fault of your own, and that's why you're now losing your house, the place you raised your kids. We're not going to let that happen. That is powerful. That is different. That's not protest. That's not demonstration. That's direct action, and it's cultivating solidarity that I don't think can be broken. So I'm hopeful.
Next question.
Thank you very much, Matt, for a very brilliant and inspiring speech. When you spoke about the United States, I felt you just spoke about Israel, like it's so much the same. And as we were inspired of the Arabs, you probably were inspired by us. And I want to ask you, what do you think that we could do in order to keep the change global? I mean, in each country, it's basically the same. We also have this corrupt media, brainwash, and everything, and also you and everything. How can we really unite and make it global? Because maybe this is really the path to lead a true change. Because here the system is so strong, and I guess also in your place. Thank you.
My personal strategy for this is to try to meet people from other countries when they come to town to talk about this stuff. And you are already accomplishing that, and I think this event is very important. Cross-cultural communication on the internet, I think, is also a good way of continuing to show solidarity. Some of the most powerful images from the global revolution have been pictures of Egyptians holding up a sign that said, "We're with you, Wisconsin." I would never thought they even knew where Wisconsin was in the United States, but they were out there protesting with the people in Wisconsin, holding up signs.
They're talking about the Israeli Wisconsin program. It's, I don't know even how to explain it.
See, and I think that I don't even know about that, and I live in the United States, right? So we need to continue exposing the fucking shames, as he would say, that exist because there's so many of them. So calling them out and not being afraid to, talk about your own country in a negative way on the global stage, I think that's really important. Remember, this is a global 99% we're talking about, and together we have to really kind of drop our old paradigms, this old nationalism bullshit that's so old and trivial. I mean, what has it gotten us? It's gotten us war and deceit and control.
But
and
are
trickery.
you referred to as an anti-patriotic citizen?
Am I personal? Do I
No,
think I am?
are you considered because in Israel when you protest, they consider you anti-Zionist or hater and stuff like that?
In terms of patriotism, I think that word is used wrong, and it's also based on that old paradigm of nations that somehow control your life. We must act as if we are already free. So I'm patriotic in the sense that I believe in the collective consciousness and this one tiny little blue marble we're all spinning around on. I'm about that. But national boundaries and this whole identity about your country and all that, let's be honest, let's talk about what's actually happening in those countries before we start saying we're pro whatever. I'm not pro America, I'm pro humanity.
Next question. שורה שנייה, הבחורה בחולצה לבנה.
Thank you for coming and for the great words. I wanted to ask you something, and I wish if you can answer as honestly as you can. I visited Occupied Wall Street a few months ago, and the biggest difference, the way here than there, was that we used in Israel the media. We played along. There was advantages and disadvantages. And as I saw there a guy interviewing to New York Times, and the first thing he said, one of the biggest problems is the New York Times. And I really appreciate that honesty. And I thought this is so great, as you said on the stage, that we're trying to make something new, that there is not winners and losers. But the thing is that what we learn, and I want to know if you learned it as well, that the human factors that still exist, and you standing here right now on this stage, and there is cameras filming you, and people hear what you think, and there are a lot of friends and colleagues back home that didn't get that chance. And I want to ask you, although you said wonderfully that you acknowledge that the fact that you have privilege that other people don't have, so do you feel that ego and this competition that we feel in our world also being held inside your protest community?
Oh yeah. I really appreciate the question. I think that until somehow we supersede our egos, they're going to be a problem. But they're the reality we're dealing with. In terms of my privilege, one of the reasons I wanted to acknowledge it up front is exactly what you're saying, is that I don't want to claim to speak for the movement any more than I'm just one person involved in it. And like you said, I'm here and other people aren't, this will most likely be my only speaking tour. I don't plan on going other places and spreading the word. I'll continue to talk to other people, but I don't love being in front of cameras and microphones. But while I'm doing it, I hope to be as effective as possible, because the important thing is that it's not about any one person, because that one person can easily go the way of other past leaders or figures. This is changing the consciousness. This is all of us representing the values that, you know, we've agreed on, that we need to start working for a better paradigm. And like you said, that paradigm doesn't exist yet. We don't know what it is. And frankly, the solutions of the past, they're not strong enough, and they're not successful. So figuring out what the right next solution is key, and it's a long way off.
One last question before we move to Golnara Itova.
I would love to hear from you about the two political system. You have an election in a few months, so what is the challenge for the movement about the elections, and do you want to challenge the two political system, two-party system in the US?
So the big question. Let me start by saying that there is a very large percentage of people inside the Occupy movement in the US who were formerly campaigners for Barack Obama. We thought, my generation, you know, I'm 29, second after the baby boomers, Gen X and then Gen Y or whatever it is. We thought that we pinned all our hopes in a man who said that he was going to do some fundamental changes to the political system. Personally, and just speaking for me, I don't blame him personally for his failures. I think that what we've seen, and one of the biggest motivators of the movement, has been watching the corruption of another president. We thought that Bush was the worst thing that ever happened to America, and he probably was. But the inability to start reversing some of that damage and to continue some of the same policies, especially on, you know, assassinations and international policy that has been tragic, is what fed a lot of the energy for the movement. So in terms of the upcoming election, it's hard to say. Would I prefer that Barack Obama won? Yes. Would a Mitt Romney presidency be devastating to the country? Yes. But I think the second term of the Obama administration will continue to be gridlock at the best. And in terms of turning into another party or participating in the current system, I think it remains an open question. There are many people, I can only speak for myself, but there are many people in the movement that don't like that idea at all. I think that it's possible there might be an angle there, but I think that fundamentally we need a complete revolution, not let's participate in a broken system. Let's tear this whole thing down and maybe then start a political party.
Matt, thank you very much for now. Miss Golnara Itova, can you please take the stand? כמו שאמרתי קודם, גולנרה איטובה מגיעה מרוסיה, בת 27. כמו, אגב, כל המשתתפים שלנו בכנס הזה, הגילאים די דומים, ההשכלה, המקצוע, המאפיינים מאוד דומים, גם הדרישות. מיס גולנרה, פליז.
Microsoft.
I'm sorry. Hello to all. I'm very glad to come here, and I'm very thankful to Rosa Luxemburg Foundation and to the Social and Economic Academy for the invitation me to this interesting civic events and to present the information and the presentation about the situation with the social protest and movement in Russia. I'm speaking on the behalf of the all Russian social movement Alternative, which is quite active all over the Russia, and our center headquarters is in Moscow. So I would call my speech as why protest, why now, telling that this word, a protest for Russian situation is quite challenging and is quite new in the sense that during the last 6 months, from December 2011 till June, till current time, the political situation, the civic situation in Russia have changed a lot. So what I would like to what question I would like to answer, probably most of you know that in December 2011 we had parliamentary elections, and after them we had a great civic blow of demonstrations and public meetings that attracted a lot of amounts of people and participants. That is why I would like to answer to the question why these parliamentary elections, this element of bourgeois democracy, became a push to this civic protest. And also I want to tackle the question, who are the main participants, who are the main subjects and actors of this protest movement, and to differentiate the different stages of the protest movement during this half a year, and to show contradictions and perspective that I think will be interesting as analysis that can show you their core problems. Parliamentary elections on the 4th December of 2011 became a quite strong reason for the sleeping Russian society. Why I call it sleeping? Because for the last 2 decades, our society faced quite indifferent attitudes to the politics, to the political situation and problems that we had this time, except maybe 2005, when a lot of people took to the streets in Moscow against the antisocial reform of pension system. I think the parliamentary elections became a reason of the great protests all over the Russia, because again we tackled the falsifications of the parliamentary results, the dominance in the election campaign of the pro-Putin and pro-ruling party United Russia. But I should say that before, in 2007, and even before, we had the same faked result. We had the same injustice in the participation in the electoral campaign before the election. But what has changed? I think the main purpose and the main background reason of the protest that began in December 2011 were the antisocial, anti-democratic policy of the government during the world financial crisis in 2008 and in 2010. During these years, we had a great level of socio-economical injustice. The increase of the social inequality in the country and a great disbalance in the representing of social interest in the government and in the parliament. So we had the first wave of protest movement that lasted during 4 months. The first protest movement began on 10th and 24th of December. They started in Moscow and were spreading all over Russia. The second very big demonstrations we had in February and also on the presidential elections in March, before and later. So in December, protest actions gathered from 50,000 till 100,000 people in Moscow, and around from 1,000 till 3,000 persons in 100 Russian city. So it was great civic blow all over Russia. Here you can see a map of the protest that we had in December 2011. So as you see, it covered more than 100 cities all over Russia. This is Moscow on. This is the end of the demonstration that we had in Moscow in December. This is the biggest protest in Moscow, also in the prospect of Sakharova. It became like a symbol of the protest movement and protest movement of today. It is December 2011. I would say main slogans in this civic protest became "We are for fair elections." This is the main slogans, and "Go away power of seas and rocks." So people started to understand that the social property, the government, the social property is privatized, not in the interest of regular people. So this is the protests that we have in February. They were like anti-governmental and pro-governmental. They were quite contradictory. They also were for fair elections. Why I call it the wave number 1 of the civic protest? Because it was a blow of the discontent with the existing state of affairs in all spheres of life. Main features is that the organizers, like the main actors who gathered people through internet, social contacts, were liberal organizers, I would say anti-governmental but pro-capitalist leaders. And at the same time, in this organization, in the organizations of the protest movement, took very active part the left movements, left front. It is alternative left political organization, alternative to the Communist Party in Russia, that also take part in this protest. The problem that faced this first wave of civic protests was that in every demonstration, people took to the street with the same slogans. We are for the fair elections. We are against Putin. But there is a great question whether these demands for fair elections were really background of their discontent. I tried to answer to this question. Protests in Russia, May and June, that started in May, I would call the second wave of protests. They are called March of Millions for Fair Elections again. took place just before the inauguration of Vladimir Putin on the 6th of May. Main features of this demonstration was that this was the second high blow of citizens' activity, and the most largest protest, and that gathered around 100 participants, and I would say most cruel, because participants faced great physical violence on the behalf of police. This is, you can see the resistance between demonstrators and and police on the 6th of May. This is cruelness. Yeah, and what are the main contradictions and consequences after the 6th of May demonstrations? The government adopted some amendments that restricted the participation of people that in the demonstration, that if somebody will commit infringement or behaves not in a proper way, it can be fined from $1,000 till $10,000. It's for regular persons, and for the political parties or judicial organization for 1 million of rubles. And after this demonstration, a lot of organizers were under criminal prosecuting on the behalf of the state, and it became evident that all protest slogan for fair election clearly showed its limits. So people, in fact, taken to the streets with the slogan for fair elections, in fact, faced a failure, because this demand is not the real demand of the demonstrations. And but I would say progressive sides of this protest that started in May became grown citizen activities, and we at last started to join to the world Occupy movement, when in Moscow it was organized public discussions between youth and writers, artists, and we call it Occupy Abay. Abay, it is a monument for the Kazakh poet and writer at the center of Moscow. And this is Occupy Abay movement. If you see people just gathering for discussion and for knowing each other and thinking what we should do ahead. As you see, this on the first row, this is Occupy Abay movement, and this is the demonstration, peaceful demonstration of writers and artists in Moscow. And the second March of Millions that was on the 12th of June, just less than 2 weeks ago, it showed that the protest movement in Russia has divided itself. It has divided itself in different separate interest group. It's not only one big crowd of people who is discontent with the situation, but different social strata. And as earlier, the main organizers became the pro-wing, pro-capitalist leaders, but they were hissed by public. Here you can see the column of school, universities, and academic research institutes against the antisocial law number 83. On the demonstration on the 12th of June. Next, this is left revolution. The main slogans is "Revolution will be red," "All power to the Soviets," and "No to the entrance into World Trade Organization." This is liberal or pro-capitalist, I would say, pro-capitalist movement for fair power, Russia ahead without Putin. So this is their main slogans, but they reject completely to take to the street with the slogans for social rights, for free education and medicine. They don't accept at all. This is sex minorities columns they took to the street with the slogans "Democracy for all" and "We are destroyed equally." And other participants that I could not find pictures were anarchist and nationalist. Main conclusions that I can make is that without social slogans and without self-organization from below, protest in Russia will be limited with Moscow. As we know, as I said, in the first wave of protests, we have all over the Russian movement, protest movement. But now, in May, in June, now it's limited with Moscow. Although it is very great, around 70 and 100,000 of people, it's not little. It can paralyze the city and so on. But it is a capital. It is only one city, and it's not enough for more radical transformation around the country. Neoliberal organizers do not meet demands of poor Russian province. Those organizers who took to the street to say we are for fair elections, we are for Russia without Putin, in fact, they demand just the change or a little change of the political system, but without changing this oligarch, bureaucratic, capitalist system that we have. They just want Russia without Putin, but Putin is only a symbol, but not a reason of this situation that we have now. Left should stop to play a game with right-wing anti-governmental establishment. It means that left groups should not go into organizational committee with right-wing and pro-capitalist leaders. And as I see, necessity of self-organization now is at stake in my country. So, thank you for attention.
Thank you very much, Gulnara. You may sit here, and now we're going to give the people a chance to ask you a few questions.
Thank you for your presentation. It is loud. I have two questions. One is about the police violence, and second about division or cohesion in the protest movement in Russia. While I was witnessing police violence here and in different countries, I felt a growing fear about police violence getting worse with the protest movement getting stronger. Do you feel there is such a threat in Russia? That is the first question. And the second is, I think Russian society is very different from Israeli society.
Israeli society is based on Russian society.
We have an expression that wherever you have, whatever number of Jews you have around, you have different opinions. So there is quite a bit of division within the protest movement, which is being manipulated by the media and so on to weaken the movement. What is the situation within the Russian protest regarding division and cohesion?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Concerning threat of the increasement of the police repression and prosecuting, I think, in my opinion, at least in Russia, it will grow. because during the first wave of the civic protests that we have from December 2011 till March 2012, the demonstrations were quite peaceful, and they did not face power attack or power response, police response. It was evident because itself government does not want to make a bad image of itself before the presidential elections. Who would choose Putin if he will make police repression in the streets before elections? It was evident. It was a very careful, rational game. But after the elections in March 2000, just 3 months ago, on May, we had an incredible physical violence against participants and regular people who just took to the street to say no to this power, to say no to the Putin and his campaign who destroy Russia. And also we had, after this demonstration, we had the adoption of the amendments to the law on the public meetings and demonstrations that restricted the participation of people, that they can be fined. What is conclusion and out of this situation can be that irrespective of this police resistance, irrespective of the cruel and anti-democratic and reactionary law that United Russia, party adopted during 1 month, on the 12th of June, again, people and people who live in Moscow, in a largest city in Russia, they took to the street, irrespective of they know that they can be under this repression again. And I think in their minds already they have something different. They understood that this machine, state machine, and this police is another part of the society, this opposite part that is not a friend, and you can't just stay at home knowing that something will change in the future. And I think the protest movement will grow. And concerning the second question, and division and cohesion in this demonstration, and the role of mass media, I would say at the moment the mass media play for the interest of the liberal and right-wing leaders of the protest movement. They want democracy, they want freedom, but they don't want social justice and social equality. They don't want to destabilize this pro-oligarch and pro-capitalist system. Maybe they want to take out bureaucracy, but they don't want to shake this bourgeois system that we have at the moment. So on, and mass media, they do their work for the liberal leaders. But I think left groups make too much as well, because they try to develop another vision of this protest, that Russia needs not only the reform of political system, Russia needs social justice, Russia needs the destroy of this system of social inequality and commercialization of education, medicine, and so on. So I think even we are not so strong, left part, but the future will be for us, because it's the world movement, not only in Russia. Yeah, thank you.
שאלה הבאה, למה? הצלם? אוקיי, בבקשה.
She said that I'm only the photographer, so to none of you, to those people who doesn't know me, I'm Ilya, and I'm the Occupy Israel, broadcasting live all of the stuff that happens here since September, something like that. So how you doing? I'm not only the cameraman.
I know.
Anyhow, I just wanted to ask that really amazing girl over there, aren't you afraid to be here? I mean, news in Israel spread fast, all the way to there. And I mean, if you hit in a court, so aren't you afraid of him, of Putin?
It's also time
it's
to
a
say that
question.
Lieberman, our foreign minister, is, right. He's a pro-Putin. He doesn't support the protest in Russia, of course.
So that's my first question, если вам не страшно. And the second question, I had to put something in Russian. And the second question is, do you think it's time, or do you feel that the folks back at your home, are they ready to burn something, or I don't know, to make some riots? You know, y'all laughing, but it's not funny question, because we all peaceful, and I see the things that you are saying, which are totally the same like here in Israel, and the things that you've been said. It's the same, it's the mirror, it's the same, but I'm asking, are we going to burn, or are we going to be left-wingers, peaceful, righteous, Mahatma Gandhi stuff, and in 80 years we'll see some peace?
I'm laughing because you ruined my question, because that was my question for the next panel.
Дорогая дама, вы меня извините.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm personally, I'm not afraid of the regime, because to this extent that you are afraid, first you should not come here. So you should be responsible for your own actions at first, and I think those people who take to the street and the main protest organizers, they understand that we face the time when you can't live further without changes, and to be afraid, it means to agree with the status quo, and to be further poor, to be further uneducated, to be further, I don't know what else. So this is the reason that we are not afraid, and I'm personally. And concerning your next questions about non-violence, and I feel that, and I hope, at least I hope for my own country and for the world movement, that it will be peaceful. At least it's quite difficult to be peaceful. The revolution we faced in 1970, it can't be, it couldn't stay in the frameworks of peace and non-violence, and Mahatma Gandhi wrote later. But we passed a big road. We passed 20th century, and we are living in the 21st century, and we should make lessons of our past, and we should understand that one life we pay for the future will return to us, someone, and will decrease our achievement. So we should, before beginning this protest, before beginning any action, we should answer themselves whether our purpose is a man, is a human being, its development, its development as a universal being is a purpose, or our purpose again to turn economy into another way, or something else, something big ideas that we can't understand themselves. So I think our movement will be peaceful, I hope.
Matt, you wanted to answer that question as well?
Yeah, this is a fundamental question, and I appreciate you raising it because it's, on everyone's mind is how do we make change? And at Occupy Wall Street, the movement has adopted what's called a diversity of tactics. I can only speak for myself, and I believe that the most effective way to make change is through peace, peaceful means. But that's only because, we're fighting a system that has the power to destroy the entire world hundreds of times over. And I think it was Mahatma Gandhi, I might be misremembering, who said, if we had had the guns, we would have used them. But that was definitely not the tool we had to our advantage. We had people, and we had bravery in a different way. What brings me to that conclusion, and against all my kind of urges to strike out and hit something, because that's what you want to do. It's so frustrating to see people suffering. What we've maintained together as a global revolution is the peaceful progress. And because of that, it is a lot easier to get on board for other countries to join in. As my friend said, the violence is a tool of the 1%. That's what they have. That's what they're good at. And that's what they want. They would love it if they could come in and shoot back at us or something and destroy the whole movement and take people off the battlefield. But if you continue to save the moral high ground, we are unstoppable, and another paradigm and another world is possible, as the chant goes. So, thank you.
שאלה אחרונה לפני שאנחנו יוצאים להפסקה, בבקשה, הנה המיקרופון מגיע אלייך.
To Altova, please. Sorry, thank you very much for your very interesting lecture. I wanted to ask you about the middle class. In Israel, it's said that the young middle class were the leaders of the protests. Were you, in the subtext of your words, I was hearing that the middle class in Russia is nurtured by Putin and have many privileges, and they don't want to change the social order, only to make some reforms. So if it's true, there is a big difference between the protests in Israel and in Russia. Who are the leaders? I want to ask you, who are the leaders of the Russian protests? Who are these people? From what is their origin, their education, their class? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, because I think it's, I would say, crucial question. The people who took to the street in December 2011 and started this wave of protest, this was middle class, I would say. These were people who are well educated, who have quite good income per month, and who can more or less survive. And this was liberal, anti-Putin leaders who appealed for them and who gathered them to take to the street and to express their discontent with the Putin political system. I mean, political system that established by Putin regime. But at the yes, and this was people who started this civic discontent, who started. That is why I wanted to show you two waves of protest. That first wave of protest movement that we have all over the Russia, it was like a protest for demands of political freedom, of political democracy, and not. But at the end, the real background of people who already started to go to the street, irrespective of the police resistance, in May, in June, just a week ago, in Moscow, it's not only middle class. I would say this is a young people, a young persons who have good education, and persons who are fed up with the social inequality, and they can't find a way except to go to the street and tell, we are fed up of this system that can't work at all, can't work at any local or federal level. So I think the second wave of demonstration, this is worse, not middle class. Yes, they gathered, they have separate columns, but left groups and other minorities, they gathered people who took to the street with the social demands, social requirements for social justice. I don't think that middle class will go for the social justice to the street. And so it's a coalition of minorities and civic organizations like Education for All, organization of different universities, lot of different universities that we have, that because we already have laws that restrict education, that every university at the moment from last year is autonomous organization. It means it should provide itself by earning money. How university or school can earn money. So they already feel that they are thrown out from the social protection, from social good life and so on. And this is the first step of this reform in social policy. The next step will be in September of this year, when school education will be paid, that you should pay for school education. It's incredible for the country that had fight for socialism and so on.
Thank you very much, Gulnara, for now. מה שאנחנו נעשה עכשיו זה בתום הפסקה של חצי שעה, בשעה 6:30, אנחנו נתכנס כאן שוב, אנחנו נכיר את מיגל ארנה קטניה מספרד, ואנחנו גם נעשה רב שיח עם שלושת המשתתפים שלנו. מזכירה לכם שמחר גם יש יום סדנאות, אז חצי שעה הפסקה וחוזרים. מיגל ארנה קטניה מספרד, אני רוצה לספר לכם בכמה מילים עליו לפני שהוא מתחיל. הוא בן 29, הוא דוקטורנט לפיזיקה, הוא פעיל במחאה הספרדית שמכונה M15, M15. בתחילתה הוקמו אוהלים במרכז מדריד, הפעולה הזו התפשטה לכל רחבי ספרד, מדינה שכידוע לכם יודעת וידעה מאבקים. הוא מעיד על עצמו שלא היה אקטיביסט לפני האירועים האלה, כמו רוב המוחים בארץ ובאירופה ובארצות הברית. ואנחנו נשמע אותו מדבר חצי שעה, אחריו כאמור יעלו גם מאט וגולנרה, ונוכל לשאול את כולם שאלות. אז מיגל.
Thank you very much. This is the main square of Madrid. It's called Puerta del Sol. This is a photograph of the main square. A normal day before the 15th of May, the day when the protest started. And this is a photograph after the 15th of May. And this is why I'm here. I'm going to try to explain you the unique event that happened. The thing is, it's a really complex event, a lot of things happen in action, ideas, way to see what happened, things that happened before. The schema of what happened and the connection could be something like this. So it's really a mess. So I would try to choose some of the ideas I would try to show some flashes of things that were happening before and some thoughts of myself and also from some friends and people much more intelligent than me than taking their ideas. And let's see if at the end of the talk we can figure out some idea of what the 15M is, what is common to all these things. Okay? So before the 15M were a lot of things happening that are connected also to the 15M. One thing, for example, is WikiLeaks, this new idea that now we are the media, we don't need to trust in corporation, newspaper, whatever. We are everywhere because we are this idea, we are the 99%, so we are everywhere in all the corporation, all the positions. So we have all the information and we can leak it anonymously and know the truth. That was something very important and something very new. Anonymous, a new movement that appeared, hundreds of people, thousands of people connected through the internet without no face, no leadership, as people acting together, knowing that their strength is to be a lot of people and fighting for things, taking down web pages from the CIA, from Visa, from MasterCard, from corporations, also fighting for WikiLeaks, connected to the movement. And also a movement that jumped to the real world, these people who start appearing in the demonstration with the anonymous mask, something really new, something really different from all demonstration. It was with the anonymous flag, it was not anymore a banner of we want a better salary or something like this. It was something new happening connected to this internet world. Of course, the Iceland revolution, something that was quite unexpected for us. A quite wealthy country like Iceland then goes bankrupt, and the people go out to the street, they take out the government, they rewrite the constitution, they put some bankers in jail, something totally inspiring and something that we wanted to repeat, follow. And of course the Arab Spring, that was something totally amazing for us. All these countries, they are rising one day after each other, one new country, something that we are used to in probably in all countries in Europe to look down a little bit like the Arab countries, like these people. And then they were surprising us, doing real revolution, changing the system, something that was totally unexpected. And not just one country with some special situation. It was all of them, totally inspiring. And it was also very important because we were watching the revolution as it were happening. We were following the live stream, the Twitter, following the real information from the people of the squares, and it gave us a lot of ideas, a lot of hope, things that we wanted to repeat. But of course, we always thought, well, maybe this happens only in Africa, in some kind of country with really hard political system. Flash mobs, that's also another thing, people who are connecting through internet and doing actions, doing new kind of ways of protest. For example, this is the name is Flow 6x8. That it's a group of flamenco dancers. They dance flamenco, and then they go to the banks and dance some anti-bank flamenco with some beautiful lyrics. And this is much, much powerful than many of the demonstrations. It goes to all media. The people love it, and it helps a lot of people to think about it. And the attacks of 11M of 2004, in 2004 we have a terrorist attack in Spain. This is in Atocha, in Madrid, from an Arabic terrorist group, something connected to Al-Qaeda or something like this. A lot of people died. It was horrible. But the thing is, there was going to be elections in 4 days or something like this. And since the government in power at that moment was the same government who put Spain into Iraq war, even when the vast majority of Spain said, no, we don't want to go to Iraq war, it was a little bit fault of this government. That happened because we were into the war and as a consequence. And the government, from the first day, starts saying that it was not Al-Qaeda or something related, it was ETA, that is the terrorist in Spain. It was ETA, repeating. And in the second day, all the newspapers from all over the world, they said, well, this is not ETA, it's clearly something different, it's probably Al-Qaeda or something like this. And the government didn't want to say that because they were facing the elections. It was problematic for them. And just the day before the elections, in Spain, it's not legal to have any kind of demonstration the day before election. It's what they call the thinking day. Totally stupid. And the people spontaneously, just using SMS, they start sending an SMS saying, okay, we want to know the truth. Go out to the street and let's know it. So spontaneously start appearing demonstration in many places in Spain, in the main offices of this party. And it was something totally new. And it helped to change the government for a new one, for the other one. And there's another phenomena, totally spontaneously self-organized, with no leader, just through internet. This is a photograph of the Goya Awards. It's like the Oscars, but in Spain. Red carpet, glamour, famous people. But the problem is that government at that moment is a government who tried to make a censorship law on internet. Because in Spain it's legal to download movies if you just watch for yourself, if you don't sell it. It's legal, so they were supporting the big companies, so they say, okay, we made a new law and then we don't ask the judge, we just close the web pages by ourselves, the government closing web pages, and if it's legal or not, we don't care, we have like this new law. So it was horrible, and this was the party of these enterprises and companies of entertainment, and it was wonderful to see how all the people in the back were people with these anonymous faces screaming to the famous people, saying that we want something different. So, and also something self-organized spontaneously. Beautiful. No les votes it's a movement that appeared in Spain. It means do not vote them. It's also connected with this law. This censorship law was promoted by the two big parties, the two biggest parties in Spain. The two were in favor of this law. So it appeared this new movement organized through internet, through wikis and mailing lists that says, okay, the elections are coming, do not vote any of this. Vote to the small parties or do not vote or do whatever, but please don't give them more power. Also, this is the map of corruption. The map of each point is one point where there was any of these people of these two big parties in any case of corruption. So also, we have reason to not vote these people. Also, they say because they are acting the same, these are the two main heads at that moment of these parties, both with Gaddafi. I mean, we are not seeing a lot of different behaviors. And actually, these people are not really able to rule a country. So we should try something different, was the idea, okay? Also, because we have an electoral law in Spain that is horrible, the big parties get more power in the parliament than the proportional votes that they have. For example, here, over is the proportional votes in the last election, and below is the power in the parliament. So the two main parties have 40 seats more than what they should have. So it's really difficult to make a new party and change the system because the small parties, the new parties are really in a very weak position. And it's even worse because the real winner of election is not the red one, is not the blue one, is the black one, is the abstention. We have a 33% of abstention in the elections. That means the blue party that is now in the government with just 1/4 of the votes, they have total control of the parliament. They can do whatever they want. And only one people from each 4 in Spain have voted them. So it's a really horrible situation. So that's also a reason to do not vote these parties. In that situation, 15th of May, there was call for a demonstration for some people also organized through internet, not any organization, with the motto, real democracy now. We are not goods in the hands of politicians and bankers. And that was something really new in Spain, that it was called a demonstration not to ask for a better salary, not to teachers to be fired or whatever, just to real democracy. That's was something that it was supposed that we had in our country. But as we know, it was really a very bad system. And it was a wonderful demonstration. A lot of people, I think it was like 100,000, but in whole country. It was in many cities. And after the demonstration, some people, a small minority, said, okay, we go always to the street, we demonstrate, and nothing happens. Nothing changed. We have to do something new. And there was going to be elections in 1 week or 4 days or something like this. So they said, these people, okay, why don't we stay in the square and we camp till the day of the election? We do something new. And they thought it was a wonderful idea. So they camped this night. From the first moment, the people start tweeting and sending messages through the social networks and internet. A lot of people hear about it. So the next day came a lot of people more. There were maybe 1,000, something like this. And like 300 stay sleeping the second night in the square. In the main square of the city, where it's quite a special place. And that night, the city evicted the camp in a quite violent way, and the people reacted from total non-violence, peacefully trying to resist, but they were evicted, of course, because the police were a lot. But the people said, okay, we are going back, we are evicted, but we don't care, we're going back to the square tonight at 8, and we are gonna camp again. And they sent a message through all the social network, please join us, come to the square with us. We were just 300, but we can be a lot. At that night, at 8, we were a lot. And that was the turn of the thing. That now we have power, we can change things. So you could feel really that something new was happening, and we had a lot of energy and people who wanted to join. Especially also because they felt that there was something new happening and this non-violent movement, anybody can join and can be something different. So we said, let's camp, let's build a real camp now. A lot of people slept that night on the square, and then a city was born. And that was something totally unique. And a whole city inside of the city, in the main square of the capital of the country. And it was a city full of messages from the first moment. The people wanted to write and say things, and all the walls were full of ideas and claims. So there was a lot of energy in the people that were not going out, and the people felt that it was the moment. We redecorate totally the square with new, and you know, the ideas were clearly global from the moment. People of Europe rise up was one of the main mottos, saying, okay, we're doing it, you can do it, everybody in the world, so please do it. It was, as I said, a full city. We had the kitchen where everybody can eat, place to read all the newspapers and get information, a library where people could go and read, a nursery, kindergarten, where the children could play and stay there, place to just play and enjoy and relax. Our own energy, we have some solar panels, and why not our own food? There was a small vegetable garden inside of the square. It's really small, but it was a good idea.
The kids will watch it.
He says that it's similar to Rothschild Boulevard. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, all the same. So you are seeing that we are doing the same, repeating the same things. And our own doctors. Places just to sit and read and relax. Our own radio. It was called Agora Sol. And even our own symphony orchestra. It was called the Solfonica. Like symphony, Solfonica. And even yoga lessons. And this is quite important because if you think, do we really need a symphony orchestra or yoga to change the political system? Absolutely not. But we need it for life. And this is something new. It's not only we are there to change some law, some political system or something. It's about life, it's about taking care of life and building better lives. It's about the idea of dignity. It's also coming from the Arab Spring, from all the movements around. And it was amazing to see how always there was a lot of people taking care of respecting the others, of cleaning the square, that everybody could talk, the old people could feel okay. So this is something new. And the square was full always. 10,000 people each day, especially the first week, going there, looking what was happening. It was really thrilling. It was the photographers every day taking photos from every corner, every person, every debate. You know, nobody was expecting the Spanish Revolution. Something was really shocking. We were not really in a especially bad moment. Spain was not. We were in a bad moment, but Spain was not bankrupt. It was not like Greece in a very bad moment. Something. So it was something that his energy came a lot from life, not only from to be against something. As some commemorative plaque somebody put, we were sleeping, we woke up. And I don't know if it was an awakening, I don't really like this word, but it was that we discovered that we were not alone. Before of this, we were alone in our houses thinking, okay, I only miss thinking that kind of things. How can I change things? How can I do something? And then we discovered we all were thinking the same. We wanted to change the same things. The common sense was really extended. So that was something really impressive for all of us. And this is the most important thing. As we build this new city inside of a city, spontaneously the people who came to watch what's happening, they make circles and they start talking. They start talking about politics, about the situation. It was just something spontaneous. Normal people who went there and then start to talk. And it was the first talks, real talks about politics that we had in really a lot of years. Before, the people just keep repeating what the political parties said. If you are left, you have to say this. If you are right, you have to say this. And debates that they were not really debates. They were not thinking about politics. I mean, how to organize the world really from the roots. How do we want to live? And at that moment, that happened. People spontaneously talking about politics. So we rediscovered not only the idea of public space, that means this space, the main square, is for you, is for everybody, so you can do whatever you want. You want to do yoga? Do it. You want to play with the symphony orchestra? Play. You want to talk about politics? Do it. Then we start feeling that the space is our space, public space. And also we rediscovered the term politics. Politics is this. This is what is happening, the people talking. Of course, we built a lot of commission and working groups trying to organize all this energy to change things in a more specific way. So there was commissions like Communication Commission, the Hackers Commission, the Lawyers Commission. There was also working groups, the Economy Working Group, the Social Working Groups, people meeting, trying to organize themselves and doing assemblies. A lot of assemblies we start to do. People join, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, trying to organize. And that was very important also that we organized in that way, in an assembly system. That means we go to the square, we sit, and everybody's going to talk, and we are going to decide anything that we want to decide between all of us. No, there's ideas that I agree, I don't agree, repeat, whatever. And this is very important, that the movement from the beginning was self-organized in a horizontal way. There's no, we don't trust anymore in somebody who is going to come with the perfect solution like a politician says. We know that the knowledge is between all of us. The collective intelligence is much more powerful than one intelligence alone, split. So we are going to try to use all this intelligence and organize and in a democratic way. So your opinion, your vote count as my one. It doesn't matter if I'm an expert or I'm not an expert. Everything should be clear, the debate should be clear, and then between all of us, we decide. And that is real debate. It's totally the opposite of what is happening in the parliament. The parliament, it looks like an assembly, it looks like there is debate, but it's not true. You know what each party is going to say, even before they say anything. You know all the position, nothing is going to change. They talk, but the position from the other is not going to change. So it's not a real debate. This is what nobody is taking care of the debates on the parliament. But in the assemblies, everybody is following the assemblies, and it was really thrilling because we understood that there the word has a real meaning, has a real power, can change the mind of the other. And this is a real debate. And there was a lot of assemblies, not only in the main square, but also in the neighborhoods. We thought, okay, everybody should join the debates and talk about politics and everything. So there was, like, in Spain, there were like 100 assemblies in different neighborhoods. And also general assemblies, assemblies in the main square with thousands of people that we really could see the energy of the movement and that we could really change things. That was something impressive. And not only in Spain, it spread to many cities around not only Madrid, to many cities in Spain. It was in 50 cities in the first week. In 50 cities, there were camps. They were doing assemblies. They were meeting. They were talking about politics, trying to do things. So the government was totally shocked. They didn't know what to do with this new phenomenon. The media, all the media were talking about us, and that was wonderful. No? The media from the foreign media, Washington Post, New York Times, BBC, Le Monde, everything. Also the local media, from the left one to the right one, everybody talking about us. And that was something really special. As one friend said, we put like a shortcut in the line of the media. They couldn't talk about us. They should talk. So at that time, we were defining the reality. It's not anymore this politician think about this, the other think about this, so this is the debate, you should think about it. No, we were defining the reality. Even when they tried to tell things in another way, but anyway, they were talking about us every day. They should go to the square and repeat what we were saying, or we were thinking. And yeah, my friend said that he could sleep peacefully during weeks these days, not hearing just the politician in the media, just hearing us, normal people talking about normal things. That was something impressive. And of course, it went global. It went to many cities. This is the map of the demonstration of 15th of October. Demonstration in 1,000 cities around the world, just organized through internet, 1,000 cities going out at the same time with the same ideas that we want real democracy. We want to say what the world should be as the people, not everybody instead of us. And this symbol is the copyleft symbol. It's a very important symbol because it was a copyleft revolution. I mean, it was not a revolution from somebody. Nobody could say, this is my revolution, I had the ideas, I know how to do it, or something like this. It started in some places, maybe in the Arab Spring, maybe in Iceland. It jumped to Spain, then it jumped to Russia, to Occupy Wall Street, or many countries. And each time we were improving it, we were learning things. And that was the power of the thing. It's for none of us, but it's from all of us. And when new people join, when new people make a copy of this revolution and use it, it goes much more powerful. We all are much more powerful. No? And this is the idea of copyleft, of sharing things, and when you share it, it has more value than when you keep the right of the thing and you say, no, it's mine. I should say how it's working. Also, it jumped to a lot of action and different. I will focus, I will not step on this, I will talk about it in the workshop. It stepped to spread not only in a physical way, it also changed the way of doing things. The people now started doing actions and doing other kind of demonstration in different ways. Something changed really in the lives of the people, so we started seeing the world a little bit different, a different perspective. But in specific action and things, I will focus tomorrow in the workshop. And of course, it was a movement with new words. These are the most common words in Twitter, talking about the 15M, and we say awakening, better world, future, hope, society, politics, change. You know, these new words full of power and full of the idea that we can really change things. And of course, a new speech, this kind of movement. This says, sorry for the disturbance, we are fixing the world. This is a smile, something is changing. This is our dreams doesn't fit in your ballot boxes. This is quite important. It's one of the most important ones. We are not from left, we are not from right. We are the ones in the bottom, and we are going to get the ones in the top. So that idea that we should step out from these debates, are you left or are you right? Are you from this party or that party? What are you thinking? Are you pro-abortion or anti-abortion? Pro-Israel or anti-Israel? These are not the real debates. This is not the way, and it doesn't work. With this kind of debate, we don't go to a better situation. But if we step out from all these labels that we usually carry, yeah, I'm from left, I'm pro something, I'm against something, if we define ourselves as just persons, that it was the word that was used in the first manifesto of 15M, we are persons. It was not we are people from left, or we are activists, or we are citizens. It's we are persons. That is something that all of us we are. Then we can really start to talk. If I'm a person and if I'm left and you are right, I know what I think, I know what you think, and then it's just a fight. It's not a real debate. But if I'm a person and you're a person, we can talk about the ideas, and we can think of everything, not only about the topics that the media or the politician thinks that we have to fight for. It's the abortion now, okay, then we fight about abortion. It's now the immigrants, okay, the immigrants. No, a person, we are going to think about everything. Then start the real politics. This this is also, I like it a lot, is not a crisis, it's the system. The idea is that we are not facing just a bad moment of a good system. The expert told us this is the economy, this is the way we have to do things. No, it's not a bad moment. It's the whole system that is corrupted. It's the whole system that is not working, and we have to change everything. So it's the idea of politics is about this. It's about thinking the whole system. And if you can really think about it, you can really change things. And this is, I like it a lot, this is not a crisis, it's that I don't love you anymore. So, the same idea, but with a new kind of words. It's not we are anti-capitalist, no, it's a different way to say things. And this is also beautiful. If you don't let us dream, we won't let you sleep. So, we are not going to stop. We are going to make a lot of noise till all of you hear it, you people from the 1%. So we really felt that there was a lot of power and energy, and we could really change anything. The first week, we really thought that we could make the government fall. It could spread to any country. We could make something really totally new. And it's because we felt we were united in something. We were not fighting for each specific fight, for each specific topic. We were all together fighting for something that were common to all of us. It's this beautifully said idea of the Occupy Wall Street movement. We are the 99%. It's all of us, and we're in the same situation, so let's fight together. Sadly, the camp should be, it was over in some weeks, because also it was very difficult to have the camp in the middle of the city, the people sleeping there was some tension. But we thought that the camp was not really important, that the ideas were already flowing through the wall, and we had a lot of assemblies and people with a new way of doing things, so we could just forget about the camp. So we cleaned it, and it was a very emotional moment at that time, because we lived something that was really unique for us, this thing. But we left a message that was very important, that is, we know the way back. The idea that that was not just a one action, something we did, a performance, something that worked or not work. It's something that is now inside all of us. It changed our way to see things. And this is not going to stop anymore, because now we see the world in a different way. We are going to ask in different things to the people who are in the power. We are going to understand the society in a different way. So we know how to go back to the square, maybe in other ways, but we know how to go back. So this, the idea is what it was impossible before, now is unstoppable. And this is where is the power, and that's why at the end it's going to work. Thank you very much.
Now the audience is going to ask you a few questions.
We would be happy if people who didn't speak before speak now. It's something we use in assemblies, because some people it's more easy for them to speak, so at the end they speak always. So if people who didn't speak now, it's much better, okay?
Okay, let's start with you.
What's going on with the movement in Spain right now? And second of all, how did you manage to avoid leadership, to avoid people from taking power or attention?
Mm-hmm. Okay, the movement now, the problem is now we are facing a really bad situation now. The country is going like bankrupt, going really fast. The government is doing everything wrong. So now a lot of people is starting to suffer. There are a lot of cuts, and the situation is going really worse in Spain. The movement keeps with all these assemblies, doing assemblies in many places, and do a lot of actions against banks, against a lot of things, and trying to find new ways of fighting, because the power is also to reinvent ourselves and to find new ways to change things. That is quite difficult. So, but we depend now a lot on the economical and the situation of the country. So I think if it goes worse, a lot of people is gonna take to the streets, and then maybe we're gonna recover this strength that we have at the beginning. Because also the problem is not everybody can join us each day. I mean, this kind of movement with assemblies or with action requires a lot of energy, a lot of time, and usually the people doesn't have so much time because of the work, the children, whatever. So it's not easy to maintain this kind of mobilization in the streets. But I think with the situation now, maybe it's going to change, and maybe we are going to see new windows of hope and could change things. So we'll see. We have to wait a little bit. But it's active, it's alive, and it maintains the action, the debates, the thing, and about leaderships, I don't know. From the beginning, it was clear, since we were trusting in all that kind of leadership system that is the political parties, and we saw the results in Spain, and it doesn't work at all. Also in the companies, or something is always is against the people, so this kind of leader hierarchical system never worked. So it was, for us at least, it was from the very beginning quite clear that that was not the way to do it. So it was the people themselves who care about not having leaders. I mean, when somebody was appearing too much in the media or taking too much the word, the others said, okay, then maybe we should rotate. Now you don't appear in media, somebody new appear, or you already talk too much, so let the other talk. So it was something that also should be self-organized. I mean, nobody can come like a leader and say, no, I'm the leader and you are not going to be the leaders, and we stop it. No. It's something that we have to learn between all of us. So it could happen, it could not.
One of the reasons the crowd is laughing is because what you described now is exactly what happened in Israel last year. I mean, the whole thing, exactly the same. Okay, next question, you on the back.
I feel like the activists here in Israel, we experience a different situation. 1 year passed, and we are the 1% of 500 people acting, and all the public is still sleeping, or let's say, dig their head in the sand and say nothing happens. And we are trying to break this wall, and it doesn't succeed too much. It's all demonstrations again and again, and the public is not joining us. And we try to think about new techniques, how to reach the people, because the problem is still the same, and we must find a way to reach people and to make them start again, come back to the squares and to the streets. From your experience, what do you think, which techniques we can use to get the public back into the struggle?
As I said, for me it's not an awakening. It's not that I'm more awake than somebody who is not going to the streets. And that's what we discovered the 15th of May. 15th of May, there was only a small amount of people doing demonstrations, doing things. And then when we went out of the street, we discovered that everybody was thinking the same. The support to this movement was like the 80% of the population or something like this. So everybody is really awake. The problem is, it's not clear, it's not easy to see how to change the system, because the system is really well constructed not to be changed. So if you don't feel there is a real hope to change things, you remain home. And also, as I said, this kind of demonstration and action require a lot of time, a lot of energy of your life, that if you don't really think that it could work, why you are going to join. So we need for sure to find new ways of everybody join. But I don't really know how to do it. Actually, if I had the clue, it was wonderful, because now the movement in Spain would be 90% doing it. But what I'm sure is it should not be, we should not repeat like the activist way of thinking that, okay, I'm the activist, I know where we have to go, and then you, the people, you have to join me. So how do you join me? If I do it that way, it doesn't work. It never worked in the past, in the whole history. So we have to find something. I mean, I have to ask you that you are not, maybe you are not joining the movement. Why you are not joining? What do you want to do? What could you think that you can do? And maybe asking everybody, we can find new ways and new solutions. Don't know, but for sure it's going to come from this place.
It seems that you are the most creative and the most artistic movement out of all the other countries. I mean, the fact that you created a symphony, the fact that you used a lot of arts in your protest is something that's a little bit more unique than the other protests.
No, the symphony or other things are just small anecdotes, small episodes of the big thing. No, but the majority of the movement was quite similar. When we see movements here in Israel or in Russia or occupied Palestine, we talk to the people in the movements, we are doing the same, we have more or less the same ideas and the same creativity. Also, we are learning a lot of things from other movements in the workshop. The things that I find are the keys, the things that we have learned and could be useful to do in other movements. Most of them are not coming from Spain, are from Occupy Wall Street, are from Greece, and from Germany, from many countries. So it's not creativity, it's spread all over the world. It's also what we learned. The knowledge is really distributed in that moment. And that's why also it works for building a city, but it was amazing that in 2 days you can build like a new city with a lot of things inside, with just the things that the common people know.
By the way, how did the mayor treat you?
How
did the mayor treat you? I mean, did he try to evacuate you, or?
Since we were too much people, each day 10,000 people in the square, they couldn't do anything. They wanted, but they couldn't.
They tried? Did they try?
The first day when we were 300, they did it, and then not again, because they felt, and also it was a support. It was what some friend called the quiet part of the movement. The people that maybe are not in the street, but support the movement. And that is a main part of the movement. Is because of these people that maybe the government is not evicting us, that we are 100 or 1,000. It's because there is 80% of the population who said, we like this movement, they are doing it right. So this is also sometimes a way to support the movement and be part of the movement, not only the visible things. But of course, we have to find way to change things.
Okay, next question. הבחור עם החולצה הלבנה, כן.
I want to ask, in your opinion, what should be the next stage of the protest? A pressure group, or political party, or just continuing these demonstrations?
I repeat again the same idea. It's not what I think. What I think actually doesn't care. It doesn't matter, because it's my idea. Maybe I'm wrong. So it's better if we, all of us, after the talk, we join and then we start to finding things. Because maybe I don't have any solution. Maybe I think, well, maybe it's a political party, but maybe somebody finds something much better that could work. For example, I don't trust in political parties, because we have seen in Spain especially, there's no way to make a party that gets power and gets in the game. And also it's trusting in this hierarchy ways of doing things that we are seeing that they are not working. So from my point of view, we have to find new ways. But the new way that we find, I think it has to come from the collective intelligence. It cannot come from somebody whose idea. So I don't really know, but we will find it.
Okay. שאלה הבאה, בבקשה.
In Israel, we had the phenomenon that most of the people who were leading the movement were middle-class people. And I was curious whether in Spain lower-class people got also a bigger part in the leadership, or was it also mainly middle class?
Maybe I didn't state it very well, but there was no leadership in the movement. You don't trust me. No leadership. No, really.
No, we didn't have leaders. We didn't have leaders. We had icons. I mean, they became media icons, but nobody leaded.
We have no leaders. We have no icons. We organize always through assemblies, so everybody can join, and we decide. And then, if you want, you agree. You don't agree. So there was nobody leading the movement. Not only the assemblies, the actions, the movement were working mainly through assemblies, but also there were a lot of actions made by just a group of friends who decided to do something against banks or against something that was also part of the movement. So nobody was leading. And the composition of the movement was from all kind of classes, and it was young people, old people. We have a group it was called the Yayo Flautas. There was very old people who made like flash mob and actions, and since they are old, the police usually could not be so violent with them, so it was a lot of success. Young people also. There were homeless in the camp helping. There was a broker in the economy group talking about economy. So, and this is the strength of the movement. When we are really the 99%, when everybody can join. When you lose this, then you don't have force. You don't have power.
I want first to disagree a little bit from a historian point of view with you, and then ask you a question. If we see a picture of Rosa Luxemburg, then we see the Social Economic Academy, which is quite a leftist organization, and we see one member of the parliament who is a leftist who is joining us. And I think there is a unique place of the leftist movement in Israel, of course, I believe in the world also. Historians generally try to look deeper to ask who are the activists and who gave the lead and who organized things that are quite complicated to organize. Okay, this is a disagreement about leftist and rightist. My question is, in Spain, can you put a light on the place of the left or of the cooperative movement in Spain during this movement or initiating this movement, the place of the left and the cooperative economy?
I'm always a little bit afraid when somebody said, well, look at the history, or the things are more complex than this or something. Usually the debate stops because I cannot answer because, well, maybe I should go home and read a lot of books and then we can talk. So the thing is, it worked just for common people who met in the square, and it was not some selected people because it was, the square was full every day of people joining the assemblies. So it was all of us, left, right, and everything. There was a lot of actions and a lot of new strategies about these cooperative things because there are a lot of people who said, okay, if we cannot change the system because it's really difficult, maybe we can build new things that are not built in the same way as the system. So maybe instead of a hierarchical enterprise, maybe we can do a cooperative and something. And we had already before a lot of cooperatives and things. I don't really know a lot of the situation before the movement, but now it's going better. A lot of people are joining these kind of things and doing new things. I'm going to talk a little bit of this in the workshop of some new experiments that appear and that really new things and are really interesting. And yeah, I will talk more about specific cases in the workshop, but it's also having more energy because it's the only way that we think that we can change things. If we can really not change the power, we build new things. So we have hope that can also change the world.
Now that we promoted the workshop for tomorrow, and having said that, I want to ask Matt and Gulnara to join us here on stage. and open the discussion a little bit. Also for the audience questions, but also for questions we prepared in advance. And it's a similar question to all three of you. All of you mentioned before, and of course, as we can see, that this is either protest or revolution, mainly of the young generation, at the age of between 25 to 35. These are the main activists. Do you think that it's not only an economical conflict, but also a generation conflict between generations? Matt, I know you have you have answered about it before.
I don't think. Yes, I would say those people who take to the streets and try to discuss the current problems, they are mostly young generation, people between 20 and 30 years old. And yes, there is a sign that something has changed in minds, in public consciousness. People who, young generation who came out, who grew up now and understand themselves as subjects or how to tell, actors of history. They are free of those prejudices and senses of social life and politics that were actual for the 20th century, and it does not it relates either to the left movement or to the right. But in my opinion, I would not say this is the clash or clash of generations. I think this is just class struggle that we have now. It obtains another historically different features, features of the new century, of the century of globalization from below. I don't speak about neoliberal globalization, capitalist globalization. I speak about globalization which allows people to be more universal, not in the sense of globally universal, but in the sense that it can be as well educated in all senses, in all spheres, as he or she wants. And the exchange of information, of technology, exchange of dialogue of cultures that we have, it makes impact on minds, and you can't ignore that. That is why I think this is like that, and I hope that we can on this historical feature can instead to build dialogue of generations.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I wouldn't describe it as a clash of different generations. Instead, I see this as the job of our generation and the job of all young generations is to be the revolutionaries. It's the ones that aren't afraid. And we don't, at least in my circles, revolution isn't a bad, scary word to us. We aren't afraid of it in the same way that the baby boom generation is, who lived through some that were very horrible and had some bad results. So I think that consciousness, that lack of fear is inherently something of the young adults in general. But in this movement, I think the other piece is that we are the ones that are feeling the fallout in America most directly. The ones that just graduated from college. I'm a little older, actually, than I'd say the average age at Occupy Wall Street. They are saddled with huge debts that they can't get rid of, even in bankruptcy. They were told that doing well in school and going to college was the answer and would set them up for a life that wasn't always on the edge of collapse. We're also the ones who are going to have to figure this thing out. I mean, I think I said this before, but this is a 50-year struggle. This isn't going to happen in 1 year. And this is the fight our generation has taken on so that we can actually do the things we want to do. And, you know, I'm not comfortable bringing children into the world in these circumstances. Who knows what they're going to face? I'm not ready to continue this paradigm. We have to change it if we're going to have a successful life. So, and with that said, there's so many people of all ages who are involved in this. My parents and my parents' friends and people their age were totally motivated and on board with this. Across cultures and across races, it's, you know, the age range goes up to 100. There's a, like you said, the group of older people, we have the Granny Brigade, and it's a whole bunch of women who are in their 80s, and they all have yellow vests that says Granny Brigade, and they'd come and stand in the front of the marches so that it would pace well, and so that it would, so that, you know, the police aren't going to hit an old person in the face like they would me. It didn't happen, but it's really powerful when you have that age range, because then there's no media narrative that this is somehow a young people's movement who just want something for free. That's bullshit.
Miguel, do you want to
totally
add?
agree, so I'm not going to repeat the sentence.
Okay. So if we're looking for the roots of the public unease, what actually started this movement, you call it revolution. Here we're trying to be a little bit more humble and say that it's a protest. If we're looking for the roots of it, where can we find it? Do we find it in the 90s demonstrations against globalization, or the disappointment at 2008 when the economical crisis was something that you cannot ignore anymore?
In my opinion, the roots of this protest and the world protest we can see in the anti-globalization movement started in the Latin America. I think this movement against against the neoliberalization of economy in Latin America countries that started the movement or alter globalism movement. I think this was a very historical break with the past that had a lot of waves and up and downs, but regionally that we have now all over the world, not only in one definite country, takes its origins, like, I don't know, ideas and practice from this.
The origins of this, and I think some of the so-called anti-globalization efforts, are a real dissatisfaction with the corrupting power, the corrupting influence of power in general, and specifically in the United States, and I think globally, with corporate power. We are having our bodies poisoned, we're having our minds poisoned, and we're having a control that we have no way out of by unseen, invisible hands, and they're not of the market. They're of people with power who are controlling the prices and setting the agendas for politicians and controlling the things we hear and see and running our education systems. And the tentacles of the vampire squid, as it's called in New York, reach everywhere. And I think that the tipping point was the global financial crisis, because people saw the system for what it was, which is a sham. They saw these people risking our entire economic futures, making bets and making up money and pushing it around and making lies. and all of a sudden it collapses and affects our lives directly, where we had no real part in creating the rules. So all of a sudden, we're suffering the consequences of a backwards and completely corrupt system. Now we have to do something.
Clap, clap, come on, it's really good. They do. So, yeah, I totally agree, and I also think that the anti-globalization movement and other movements before had a lot to do because they spread these ideas about how the world is being ruled, and also. But also the thing that the anti-globalization movement, for example, failed. This is also a very important root, is the idea that thing that we were doing, that each time there was a G20 meeting, we were there and demonstrated and never happened anything, we never succeed. This idea that, okay, we have to find new things, we have to invent something new, maybe it's not the activist thing, maybe other people should have to join or something new. That is the very important root. And of course, also the technology. This is totally a basis, and I think it's totally root also with the idea that young people are joining. We are organizing through the technology, through internet and the software we have, and without this, it could be almost impossible to do these kind of things. So without this, impossible.
How do you refer the old ideologies, such as Marxism, capitalism? Gulnara.
How we refer?
How do you refer? What do you think about it? Do you still think it's valid or we need to think in a different way and not trying to think in the old ideologies?
I personally define myself as a left activist, so I'm fighting for the left alternative. And of course, you can't be left if you don't stand on a Marxist positions. I think that at the moment, Marxist positions and ideas are quite demanding because. A very little example, the crisis 2008, and it was great demand for Marxist analysis of this financial crisis. I mean, from the theoretical and scientific point of view. So, and I think. That nowadays we should look at struggle against capitalism from critical Marxism, Marxism that at every historical time, at every point, it should find concrete decisions and concrete ways of solving the problems. And the exploitation, the theory of labor cost, and the theory of alienation, and another that are originally Marxist are very actual at the moment. We have still exploitation in different forms. We have at the end alienation that generates a capitalist system that destroys society and makes autonomous persons. So I think it's very actual. And
yeah, I'm repeating a little bit what I said, but from a point of view, maybe we are Marxist, maybe we are left, maybe we are anti-capitalist, maybe we are whatever, or we reach that stage at some moment. But the thing is, if we start from that point of view, we don't go forward. If I start, okay, I'm Marxist, or I left, or I didn't, there is no way to talk to the other. Maybe I'm right, maybe this is what we are going to have in 100 years, and we are going to be happy, and it's going to be wonderful. But it doesn't work, and it didn't work, because we are always fighting with the other and trying to, not to understand what the other is thinking and try to find maybe a common point or something. It's just trying to destroy the other that is obviously not right because he's not from left or whatever. So it's for me the important is, like this banner said, is to break the labels, keep the ideas, the basis of the ideas, but not put any label, not put any name, and then talk with everybody, and then, yeah, good work.
Yes, please.
And I respond. I don't stand on the position that if I'm left, the only alternative is left. I think that free association of people, of different people, could be actual at the moment. And I don't fight that if you are not left, if you are not, as I think in my eyes, that you don't have future. I think that alternatives of alternatives. So different, the unity of diversity, and that is all.
Yeah, it's a tough question because so much of my thinking has been influenced by my study of other movements and of ideologies. But I think that ideology and culture are really not our friends. I think that we have to figure out how to de-socialize, to use that phrase in a different way, and to open our minds. Marx's analysis is very important to my thinking, but I would call a reporter asked me how I would identify, and I've struggled with that because I'm not satisfied with any of the answers that are out there now. And the paradigms of the past have gotten us where we are. And the next step is the solutions. If anything, I'm a solutionist. I want to figure out what the next steps are and move in that direction. And I don't care what you call it. I mean, call it whatever you want. But
You have anything you want to add? No, אוקיי. ב-15 דקות האחרונות שנשארו לנו, נשמח לשמוע עוד שאלות מכם. בחלק האחורי, בחור עם החולצה האפורה, אתה יכול בבקשה.
Thank you very much for being here and talking about these things. You mentioned that I absolutely agree that there is no reason to fight with each other on things that are not of essence, on style. But there are also things of essence. Going back to Mahatma Gandhi, which was referred to, he said that we can make concessions about everything apart from what is important. On that, we can never concede on. So, now putting this in the context of this forum, there is a struggle taking place here in Israel. It is a struggle of the privileged, usually the white Jewish privileged. In a country that practices apartheid as defined under the crime of apartheid in international law. And it is maybe akin to the white people struggling for their rights under apartheid in South Africa. So what is your position coming here towards this struggle that could be a little different than what is taking place over there?
Who wants to be first to answer?
Sorry, do you want to go?
No, because I didn't understand really the question, so I really need to repeat that.
Could you clarify, you want us to weigh in on the current situation between Israel and Palestine?
I mean that
we fight.
This country was founded on the basis of inequality. In 48, not in 67. It is not a democracy and never was one, not even to begin with.
Wait, okay, so I
so,
guess...
So coming here, should you insist in quality? Should you insist that this struggle here will be, first and foremost, be about equality?
So, first of all, I know that this issue is incredibly divisive here, and I don't want what's been talked about here to be buttonholed based on our opinions about this issue. I don't mean to pass, but I personally don't feel like I'm comfortable with my level of knowledge weighing in. With that said, I believe in the rights of individuals, and I think that everyone has a right to democracy, and I think that it has to be our basis. The tenets and the core values of what I understand as a global revolution is horizontalism. And what that requires is the freedom of assembly and the ability to set your own destiny. That's what we're fighting for. And to build movements based on horizontalism and the ability to make decisions as an individual actor that work for the group should be a fundamental right, and that should be the basis of struggle, in my opinion.
Does anyone wants to add anything?
Yeah,
You
only-
have a mic here also.
Yeah, only. It's working?
No, not working? Okay.
Yeah, so only one idea. In Spain, for example, we had the terrorist problem in the north of Spain, País Vasco. They wanted to be independent, and the government said, no, you cannot be independent, and there was the terrorists, and it was a huge problem. And for many years, we couldn't go forward in this problem because all the two parts, the people who said, no, you should not be independent, the other, we should be free, independent, whatever, they couldn't agree, and there was just a fight. And at the moment, the people start putting the focus not on that topic, on other things. Okay, this is important. Of course, it's important if the people are dying or are not dying, or what is our country, if we are free or we take decision or not. These all things are important. But when people start to put focus on other things, like, okay, then let's talk about the whole system, the whole society and everything, then we discover that most of the people were not really taking a lot of care about these ideas of nationality or this problem. It was not really the problems of the common 99%. So it was a fight of minorities in reality. And most of the people just wanted to live in peace. They didn't care about it and have any peaceful solution. And it helped a lot to solve the problem. So I also don't really know the situation, so I cannot talk. But sometimes putting the focus in other things and saying, okay, we're not going to start with this, that is really problematic and we don't know how to solve it. We start with other things, let's talk together about other things, let's meet each other, let's know what they're thinking, and then maybe you find solution for the problem you were not looking for. It could work, I don't know.
Yeah, I want to second that and revise slightly what I said. The issue is such a hot button issue, and I just feel like what you said, we can't even begin to address it yet because we don't have real democracy anywhere. But it's an issue that until we actually sit down and get to know each other and see each other and look each other in the eye and recognize our shared humanity, that's when we can actually make these decisions ourselves. That's when we can start to get to the root of this problem. And I actually was hoping that this would be a slightly more diverse crowd, and I hope that we get a chance to actually meet with people who are...
Who disagree?
Who are, on both sides of this issue, because I'm interested to hear what people say. So I would like to talk more about this and hear your opinions, even though I know this can be a contentious issue.
Okay.
Hi. I would like to hear about your visions of the future, the wanted future that you personally think of when you think of a success for 10, 20, 50 years from now. How the world functions, how society is organized. Do you see there governments, corporations, maybe a global democracy? Please.
I have no idea, and I'm so happy of having no idea because that means having no idea that the future is really open. I mean, we can really build different things. We can build different way of organize ourselves, different ideas of how the power should act and whatever. The only thing I think it's for sure is gonna be there. This is the idea of real democracy. It's this: nobody is taking the decisions instead of us, saying that I know the answer and then we're going to do this. No, we all are going to take the decision, but the way we organize ourselves is like science fiction. You cannot even imagine. But it's wonderful. There is hope.
Yeah, this is actually one of the things I want to do in my workshop tomorrow, because I think get some of the best answers out of people. Is you start with, what's wrong, and then you ask what's going to be right. And the challenges are amazing. I mean, we're dealing with global challenges that threaten the species, our species. And Well, except for maybe like, you know, the ones that survive and thrive, like the funguses that eat plastic will probably be okay. But my vision is one of self-determination in a new way, and one where we have individual choice and mean it, you know, that we organize societies because we want to be in them. And my goal in my limited time here is to see if I can be a part of that rebirth. I think that the cooperative movement has a lot to add because it's inherently subversive, and it is radical when done right. But I'm not sure that that's the solution everywhere for everyone. And then in terms of the environmental situation, you know, I don't see the technology and science fiction future necessarily being very achievable unless we can figure out how to stop destroying the planet. So that's going to be, I think, the next big challenge.
Gulnara?
I fully support these perspectives, but I think the future that I see those future, it can have any different forms and different kinds of ruling and governance and economy and social activity, but this future should be a future where each person, each individual can find its place in this life, in the thing that it can have education, it can have conditions for self-development, and it can be this form of society, it can have different forms. But if this future will work for each people, where you can't find the people that are just excessive for this world, I don't think I don't want such society. So.
יש לנו אפשרות לשאלה אחרונה.
Hi. Really nice to see such wise words from all of you. Thank you. I really wanted to know about initiatives or entrepreneurship going on around protests in your countries, like what kind of new things people are experimenting with. You talked a little bit about the cooperative movement, stuff like that. Thank you.
You know, I only addressed it briefly in my comments, but the flip side of what we're against is what we're for, and that's the open question. And there's a lot of thinking going on there, and I think it gets downplayed in the media, at least in my country, because it literally is at least 49% of the activism that's going on, I think, is people trying to reimagine and build new structures of mutual aid, and structures that are inherently subversive, like the cooperative movement. We're pretty behind the times in the United States on this one, I think. We have a lot of catching up to do to other countries who've been working on this, but right now there's a lot of pressure, or there's a lot of subsidies for dirty energy, for instance. So oil and gas stay the dominant ways and coal stay the dominant ways we power our lives. But there's a huge movement for green energy that is, I'd say that we're getting close to a tipping point where it will be more than price competitive. It will be more profitable to do wind energy distributed if you could figure it out and actually kickstart it. So energy is a big place where I think innovation is coming. And then the open source software movement is something that I'm very interested in. I don't have that much knowledge, but it's amazing. And lastly, I think alternative economic arrangements, which is something that have been tried in the United States, could make a comeback as a result of some of this same consciousness. And that's what I'm hoping to figure out more of, how to scale cooperatives, how to make jobs from the ground up instead of waiting for rich people to give them to us.
Gulnara?
As far as I know about cooperative movement in my country, we have not too much examples. I would say only if we have cooperative in housing, in building and in building housing, but but still they are like half cooperative, half private property. So I would say this is what we need to develop.
Miguel?
Yeah, in Spain we have some experiments of cooperative companies, and so I don't really know them a lot, so I cannot tell you a lot, but still they are minor companies. It's something that is not it's not sort of a lot followed by a lot of people still. But there are new experiments. I will comment some ideas in Warsaw. But like for example, now a newspaper went bankrupt because they have no money. So the workers decided to buy the newspaper and between them in a cooperative way do a new newspaper. So it was something nice. There are many crowdfunding actions. That is where there are no somebody who put the money to do it. It's just a lot of people through internet put a small amount of money, and then we for example, 3 weeks ago there was one of the main banks in Spain that fall, and the government pay a lot to save it, and the main person in this bank was going to have a salary and no problems at all. So 2 lawyers made a crowdfunding to get money to put a demand to this person. They asked for 20,000 euros and they got it in 1 day. So everybody wanted to put money to make a demand. So it works, at least in some ways, in some puntual ways. So there are a lot of new ideas and new things, but I think we have to invent new things to make it able for the vast majority of the people to join it, because at the moment they are not really joining it.
I want to say one more thing quickly, because my friend in the front row is about to catch on fire if I don't. The Mondragon example from Spain is something that people in the US are very interested in. The Spanish cooperative in the north of Spain, right? There are some things in the US happening in that model. I don't understand the intricacies well enough to give a lecture on it or anything, but I know that it's working, and I know that it's very solid through the economic crisis, because they have their own bank and they kept it fully capitalized. Multiple banks. Right. Growth, yeah. Yeah, she said that during the economic crisis, or after the fallout with the unemployment rate going up, the cooperative companies in Mondragon rose at 8% in terms of their, in the last quarter of 2011. And that's important. So there's some things in the US going after that model that are being built to rebuild some of our old industrial cities that are now rust belt, is what they call them, because they're all rusting. To create jobs in communities of struggle, and they're very hopeful. I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be a big one for cooperatives.
לפני שנסיים, thank you. לפני שנסיים, מיכל שוחט, מנכ"ל המכללה החברתית, רוצה לומר כמה מילים?
משפט וחצי. אני רוצה להודות לכל מי שלקח חלק כקהל, כמשתתפים. אני רוצה מאוד להודות ללינוי, שהסכימה להנחות את האירוע הזה בהתנדבות. אני רוצה להודות למתרגמים, גם לשפות וגם לשפת הסימנים. תודה רבה לכם. מי שעדיין לא שבע, ואני לפחות לא שבעה מהמפגש עם האורחים, בעוד רבע שעה פה באולם הזה יש לנו די-ג'יי עם קצת שמחה. ומחר מוזמנים לסדנאות כדי לשמוע קצת יותר לעומק מה שיש לאורחים להגיד, ומה שיש לאנשים שלנו, פעילי המחאה מהארץ, להגיד להם.
תודה מיכל, ואנחנו מזכירים לכם גם בשבת בשעה 7 בבית העם בסדרות רוטשילד, ממחאה חברתית לכוח כלכלי אזרחי, הקמת קואופרטיבים כקונקרטיזציה של תנועת המחאה בישראל. I want to thank the three of you very much for joining us, and I hope you'll enjoy the rest of your visit in Israel. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening. إصلاحات ويزيد
وزي كمان تقرا في الجورنال حاجات إصلاحات وزي كمان كشف أثر المومياوات قوم يا واد هات الحوادث تلقى حادث في البلاد النقود جات له شوطة وصبره داب في الملاحات وإن بيسخط العيال نصيبها مال زي البنات وإن نادية بريزة وقعت وإن فاطمة شرب رجعت وإن شكري وكالة قرر يشتغل في الممنوعات قوم يا واد هات الحوادث تلقى حادث في البلاد النقود جات له شوطة وصبره داب في الملاحات وإن بيسخط العيال نصيبها مال زي البنات وإن نادية بريزة وقعت وإن فاطمة الشرب رجعت وإن شكري وكالة